Diddy was long rumored to have been involved in Biggie's death, and now it seems the truth has finally been confirmed.
You look at Big Murder. Do you believe he came to LA too soon after Tupac got killed?
I don't know the temperature, but I can give my opinion. And the reason why I say I don't know the temperature, because I was already in the county jail. But from what I hear from different people talking, you know, people talk in prison, people talk on the streets, people run their mouth. And if it's true, I can't say if it was too soon for him to come to LA or they came to LA because they wanted to. I was told that he wasn't ready to come to LA. I was told that Puffy pretty much made him come to LA. And that puzzles me, because the rumor has it that all the different rivals involved in it.
Murder of Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious Big or Biggie Smalls, remains a mystery even after all these years. On March 9, 1997, Biggie was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles.
The music world is numb today, stunned by the violent death of gangster rapper Notorious B.I.G. The tragedy happened here outside of the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, where the rapper, also known as Biggie Smalls, was attending a Vibe magazine party for the Soul Train Awards. Now, shortly after midnight Saturday, Notorious B.I.G. left the party and got into his car when another car rolled by and shots rang out. At least 5 bullets ripped through the door, killing B.I.G., who was sitting in the passenger seat. Dozens of heavily armed cops arrived on the scene as word of the shooting spread. The bullet holes in Biggie's vehicle are mute testimony to the gang-style drive-by shooting that took the life of the Brooklyn-born rapper, whose real name is Christopher Wallace. Smalls was rushed in his bullet-riddled vehicle to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Dozens of fans, many overcome with grief, held a vigil at the hospital.
They've got a number of individuals that they're speaking to right now, and we're hopeful that we can resolve this matter relatively soon.
These are pictures of the 24-year-old Biggie at the Vibe party just hours before he was killed. Eerie images of a man who had no idea of the violent fate awaiting him.
Since then, people have had lots of questions about what really happened. Some even believe his own mentor Sean Diddy Combs may have been involved. Over the years, rumors and theories have grown, with people pointing to music rivalries, police corruption, and even secret plans within the music industry, but so far none of these stories had led to clear answers. In the 1990s, rap music was split between the East Coast and West Coast. Diddy ran Bad Boy Records in New York with Biggie as the label star out west. Suge Knight led Death Row Records, home to Tupac Shakur. These two sides didn't get along. The beef got worse in 1994 when Tupac was shot in New York. He blamed Diddy and Biggie, even though they said they had nothing to do with it. In 1996, Tupac released a song called Hyde 'Em Up, where he insulted Biggie and even said he was involved with Biggie's wife, singer Faith Evans. It wasn't just music anymore, it was personal. That same year, Tupac was killed in Las Vegas. 6 months later, Biggie was dead too. Some people think the murders were connected.
When somebody's shooting at you, your first reaction is not to get a description of them, but to take cover, duck.
Biggie was killed 6 months after Tupac Shakur died in a hail of bullets in Las Vegas. Two larger-than-life hip-hop artists, Biggie from the East Coast with Bad Boy Records led by Sean Combs, and Tupac from the West Coast with Death Row Records founded by Marion Suge Knight.
I was assigned to Biggie's case as a result of a reinvestigative effort by the LAPD.
Greg Kading is a retired LAPD detective. He was assigned in 2006 to the Biggie case after several leads had gone cold, including a lawsuit against the LAPD, alleging that crooked cops David Mack and Rafael Perez were involved in the murder and cover-up. That lawsuit was later dropped.
It's been so many years. Why hasn't this case been solved?
Well, if you were to ask me, I would say it is solved. I would say that it's solved but unprosecuted. So this is one of the murder books.
After years of investigating this case, Kading says he can finally prove what many of Biggie's fans suspected. Their beloved Notorious B.I.G. was murdered in retaliation to the killing of Tupac. Kading alleges the hit was ordered from inside county jail.
The time that Biggie Smalls was killed, Suge Knight was in the county jail. So in order for him to communicate with somebody on the street, he had to go through an intermediary, which was this female who was visiting him in jail.
On May 28, 2009, the LAPD and the FBI documented that woman's statement. Her identity is being protected. Kading says the woman worked out an agreement that nothing would be used against her.
But while she's telling us, she's got tears in her eyes, she's clearly frightened.
Kading says the woman would visit Knight pretending to be a legal assistant.
That allows her to go in, sit down with Suge, and have unmonitored visits. Deputies can't overlisten on the phone, they can't stand there and overhear the conversation. So that's how it was set up, so that she could have confidential conversations.
This LAPD statement says, quote, during more than one of these visits, Knight instructed Blank to help him coordinate the murder of Christopher Wallace.
She said that Suge told her, I want you to get a hold of Poochie, figure out what type of money it's going to cost, and tell him that this is what I want done. So she then, there's a series of meetings. She goes and meets with Poochie. They agree on an amount. Suge makes the arrangement for that money to get transferred. She pays Poochie, and he goes and sets himself up at the Peterson Auto Museum and shoots and kills Biggie.
Poochie can be seen in this photograph with several friends, including Knight. His real name, Wardell Fowles, also known as Darnell Bolton.
So we knew that he was somebody who was dangerous, somebody capable of doing these things, but we didn't know it was him until the other co-conspirator confesses.
And by that time, it was too late. Fowles had been dead for years.
I know I made the call and had a conversation. If you're doing security, if you retire police, or if you still a cop, you're gonna have your firearm on you. Even if you didn't even have a principal of what you was doing security for, you're gonna have your firearm on you to protect yourself first. Now, if you doing security for Tupac, the best artist in the business ever, the most controversial, the most loudest, the more aggressive, and you're not gonna have your gun on you. I say that, and I look at that, and I say, wow. Then I look at the situation. Like I said, I was in jail, but the situation, how they say it went down with Biggie, I feel bad for Puffy. He in that motherfucker cell, cold, hungry as a motherfucker, bored, probably nervous. But at the same time, unless he was totally against Biggie, I feel his pain. And I'm not saying he against Biggie, but I think that according to the conversations and what people say and what people tell me, I was not there. I couldn't see what happened, but the fact that I feel bad for Puffy because this your man right there.
At the same time, some people began pointing fingers at Diddy. Some believed Biggie had planned to leave Bad Boy Records and go out on his own. That made some fans wonder if Diddy had a reason to stop him.
How you feel about the people that say Biggie was asking for him coming to LA so soon after Tupac got killed, and him getting on the radio rapping Long Kiss Goodnight?
Man, you would get 100 people in the room, and out of the 100 people, probably 3 would say it was all right for Big to be in LA. 97% of those people would say he had no business in LA at that time. We all knew that. Why would Puff rent studio time? Come on, man, look. You gotta look at what people do, man. You know Pac just got killed. It ain't no kind of business Big was doing. Big couldn't even walk, he couldn't run. They was pushing him around in a wheelchair, brother. Why the hell would you rent studio time in LA for him to finish your album when in fact you got your own studio, Daddy's house? Let's keep it a buck. Let's stop this bullshit, man. Let's stop doing these interviews, man, about this shit. Because people ain't getting it. He did not want the beef with the Crips. Puff ain't want the beef with the Dog Pound, Snoop them or whatever. Big started that beef. You understand what I'm saying?
In 2024, Diddy's former bodyguard Uncle Ron Smith posted a TikTok video saying Diddy and rapper Jay-Z had something to do with Biggie's death. He claimed Biggie was becoming too powerful and wanted to leave Bad Boy, which made Diddy feel threatened. He also said Jay's wanted Biggie out of the way.
Jay-Z and Puffy wanted Biggie killed. Bottom line. You don't have to believe me. Believe the facts. Here's a man that wanted to leave Bad Boy. He wanted to do his own thing. He mentioned several times how he was tired of being used and abused, that he was bigger than Bad Boy itself. Somebody, and we ain't gonna call no more names, dangled a bogus contract in front of his face so he wouldn't leave the company. How I know I was there. Another thing, Jay-Z wanted him out of the industry, period, so he could take over and be the biggest hip-hop artist around. And I wonder who's the biggest hip-hop artist today. It's all business, folks. And unfortunately, you as a fan, most of you won't understand, but it was all about the business. And the two billionaires have done what they seeded to do. I was offered $30,000 to perform a hit on Biggie Smalls. March 1st of 1997, I was approached by Diddy to perform a hit on one of his artists. Finding out that he wanted all the rights to all his catalogs. I turned him down because I also found out that very night that Biggie had plans of leaving Bad Boy. Biggie should have never been in California to promote an album with a broken fibula bone, who can barely walk, to go to another studio when Diddy has his own studio in New York.
The video shocked people, and then just one day later Smith died suddenly. That only made the rumor spread faster.
Diddy is pure evil. He has a very nasty disposition. He treats everybody like crap. Every single employee he's ever had, he and his mother have looked down on them, belittled them, talked to them like they were the lowest scum on the earth, so he could always have his way. Ahmad, Muhammad, and Suge Knight, or Amir, they took the blame for something that was already getting ready to be in motion. It just happened at an earlier time, because on the 9th, Biggie was taken out. And I'm so glad to this day that I refused to do that. So under investigations and working and cooperating with FBI, my story is being told. There's so much more that we're going to talk about with Diddy.
So far no one has found solid evidence linking Diddy to Biggie's death. A 2007 review by the LAPD found no proof that police officers were involved either, and while Ron Smith's video went viral, experts say it doesn't hold up in court because it was just his word without backup. Today Biggie's murder is still unsolved. The case is full of questions, theories, and missing pieces. Police never found the shooter. No one's ever been charged, but that could all change at Diddy's ongoing trial, especially as more people continue to expose him, especially as former employees continue to speak out against him.
Well, it's the third day of testimony by Mia. That's the pseudonym she's going by. She is the second of 3 women during this expected to be at least 6-week to 2-month trial in which Sean Combs is accused of sexually abusing several women. She is one of 3 women who are going to be testifying during the trial. And she has said that during her employment for him as a personal assistant from 2008 until 2007, or actually 2009 until 2017, that he first molested her and tried to forcibly kiss her at his 40th birthday party shortly after she got hired, and then months later raped her in a guest room at his home in Los Angeles. And she's been under cross-examination now for 2 days. And while a lot of the lawyers for Sean Combs have been very friendly with some of the witnesses who reluctantly testified for the government, the lawyer, Brian Steele, has been very aggressive in cross-examining Mia, and even suggested today that she was making up her allegations, which she insisted was not true, that she's only testified truthfully over the last 3 days. But he again and again confronted her with text messages she had sent to Sean Combs after she was no longer working for him between 2018 and 2023, in which she expressed how much she loved Sean Combs and appreciated how much she'd learned from him, and how her opinions about him would never change. And finally, he asked her directly, how can you say these things? You know, at one point, he even confronted her with a text message in which he said she had a nightmare in which she was in an elevator with the singer R. Kelly, who was convicted of charges and now serving time in prison, similar charges even to this case. But she said she was in an elevator with R. Kelly in this nightmare, and Sean Combs came and rescued her. So then, his lawyer said, well, how can you make these accusations, against, Sean Combs when you're having a nightmare in which he rescues you from someone else who is a convicted abuser of women? And she said it's because she was brainwashed, and that she didn't come out of this until the last year or 2. And she said it took therapy and lots of confronting what went on.
In addition to this, we've had new testimonies that are guaranteed to damn Diddy to jail. On March 5, 2016, a security officer named Eddie Garcia found himself in a situation that would later land him in court. Garcia was working at a Los Angeles hotel when surveillance footage captured Diddy assaulting his longtime girlfriend Cassandra Ventura. Garcia is now testifying under an immunity deal, meaning he can't be prosecuted for WADA says as long as he tells the truth. His account is truly shocking, as it talks about how Diddy tried to bury what happened to Cassie.
At the next trial of Sean Diddy Combs, the surveillance video showing the alleged attack on Cassie Ventura in a Los Angeles hotel, well, that video, it's taking center stage today. Jurors got a chance to hear from the hotel's former security supervisor earlier on today, and he testified about the $100,000 payoff that Combs made to purchase that incriminating video. Now, Combs does not deny that a transaction happened, but his attorneys say that he made the payment to avoid any negative press. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk joins us now. Stephanie, it's interesting because this former security supervisor essentially says that, look, I heard from Combs's people, I heard from Combs's from his personal cell phone, ding, ding. What exactly are they saying happened, especially if Combs acknowledges that a transaction was made?
Yeah. He lays out a pretty remarkable timeline, actually, Morgan. So this guy comes into his shift and he's told by people that there was an incident the night before. And then he gets a phone call from Combs's assistant Pardon me, that is my
No,
phone.
it's okay.
And I apologize.
The phones know we're talking about the phones, right?
I apologize. But listen, so he comes in for a shift. He gets a call from Combs' assistant and says, hey, we really want to see that video. We know it was this, that, and the other. And he said, no, you can't. I can't show it to you. You got to talk to management. Then that assistant shows up at the hotel. Says that she wants to speak to him. He goes down. In person. Again, explains, I can't give you the video. I can't show you the video. But according to his testimony, he tells her it's not good. He then goes back up and gets another call from the assistant.
Garcia, who was 24 at the time, says Hestel refused, but then Diddy offered to take care of him, suggesting there would be money involved. Garcia spoke with his supervisor, who agreed to sell the footage for $50,000 when Garcia called Diddy back with the news. He recalled Diddy saying, Eddie, my angel, I knew you could help, I knew you could do it. While recounting this in court, Diddy, dressed in a brown sweater and white shirt, looked over at jurors trying to gauge their reactions, but they didn't react. He said
he also spoke to Cassie Ventura on FaceTime, who was instructed apparently by Combs to also tell Garcia that she wanted that video to go away too. Garcia said Combs himself handed him $100,000 in cash, and that later he also noticed that there was no video file or incident report in the hotel records. Diane.
Bernardo, what do you think this testimony means for this case?
So Eddie, his testimony is very important for the case because when we're dealing with the racketeering conspiracy, his testimony has been able to prove that, number one, having to deal with the criminal enterprise, being that his security guard, as well as Christina Quorum, who was the chief of staff for Sean Combs, was involved in trying to arrange this deal and contacting security to try to get this footage, and that all three of them were present when this negotiation took place of the turning over of the $100,000 to this security guard. So this is detrimental to the defense. The prosecution is going again with the criminal enterprise, but also dealing with obstruction of justice, which is one of the key elements, also one of the predicate acts under the racketeering conspiracy.
At the meeting, Garcia signed paperwork. One document said he had handed over the only copy of the video. He also signed a non-disclosure agreement. He admitted hadn't read either document in full. Afterward, Diddy left the room and came back with a brown paper bag and a money counter. He began feeding stacks of $10,000 into it. When it stopped, it showed $100,000, double what Garcia's supervisor had asked for. Garcia says he understood the extra money was meant for him and another colleague. He said not to make any big purchases. Garcia testified, I understood it as it would draw attention. In the end, Garcia gave $50,000 to a supervisor and $20,000 to a colleague. He kept $30,000 for himself and bought oust car. Even after all that, the footage still somehow made its way to CNN, which broadcast clips of it a year ago. No one is sure how they got it. Bernardo Garcia also mentioned
Bernardo Garcia also mentioned a woman named Christina Quorum during his testimony. Any significance there? Do you expect her to testify?
So absolutely. So Christina Quorum was the chief of staff for Sean Combs, and we've heard her name come up multiple times throughout this trial as being the go-to person for Sean Combs, the personal handler for Sean Combs, and now from today doing the dirty work of also Sean Combs. So in terms of whether she's going to testify, that's the million-dollar question, because if she were to testify, she knows all the dirt having to deal with Sean Combs, and that would technically seal his fate. I don't think there's anywhere around it if Ms. Quorum were to testify, because we also did hear from her in the sense of doing an discussion out of the presence of the jury that her phone was searched. A search warrant was done on her phone, and many text messages that have been used in this trial came from her particular phone.
Rena, what are you watching for next?
So after Eddie Garcia finishes testifying, we're expected to hear from Brianna Bongalong. She was an upcoming designer who was in the inner circle of Combs and Ventura, and she was also a friend of Cassie Ventura's, who has accused Combs of dangling her off the balcony of Cassie Ventura's apartment from the 17th floor in Los Angeles. Now, she filed a civil lawsuit against Combs, and she alleges that Combs was yelling, "Do you know what you did?" And she said that no, she didn't know what she did. She didn't really know why Combs was so upset with her. He says that he also slammed her into the patio furniture during that incident, into a table. Combs has denied those allegations. We're also expecting to hear from Bongalong, who might corroborate Cassie Ventura's testimony about the violence she alleges to have experienced.
Now Diddy is facing serious federal charges sexing and racketeering. Conspiracy prosecutors say he used a close circle of bodyguards and high employees to help him commit a string of crimes over 2 decades. The case involves multiple accusations including bribery and obstruction of justice, both of which connect back to his 2016 incident at the Intercontinental Hotel. Diddy has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers say this was all business, not crime, and that any sex involved was consensual, but jurors saw the footage again on Tuesday. In it, Diddy is seen in a toweling and kicking Ventura in the hotel's elevator area. Ventura herself had testified earlier that she was trying to escape after he hit her in the face. When CNN first aired the video, Diddy released an apology on social media. He said, "My behavior on that video is inexcusable."
Reaction to the video on social media mixed. Diddy saying he takes full responsibility for his actions. Fox 11's Chelsea Edwards is live in Century City near the hotel where the assault occurred. Chelsea?
That's right, Susan. So this hotel has since been closed, but it has certainly become a big part of the conversation since that violent video was released on Friday. And as you mentioned, now we are hearing from Sean Diddy Combs himself in a selfie-style apology.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
His lawyers have admitted he has a history of violence, but argue that doesn't make him a criminal mastermind. This trial also revealed more about Christina Carom's role. She was once Diddy's chief of staff and, in his own words, his right hand. There are still unanswered questions, especially how CNN got the footage after all this, but what's clear from Garcia's testimony is that Diddy was desperate to keep the video quiet. He paid big money to do it, and now that very effort to bury the footage is part of what may bring him down. Do you think he'll be able to walk away from this? Let us know in the comments.